Let us give a warm welcome to our first speaker, Dr. Clarissa L. De Leon.
Thank you so much, Angel. To every individual who is sharing their precious time with us today, isang magandang umaga po. Alright, so bago siguro ako mag-start, pwede muna siguro ako magbigay ng 30 seconds, no? Kuha po kayo ng tissue or panyo because we are dealing with numbers for this morning. So my presentation is about the demand and supply analysis. So for sure, you already have the business or product in mind that you are going to sell. But the first question is, meron ba tayong demand para doon sa product? So for this morning, so although there are lots of numbers na alam ko naman na majority sa atin ay ayaw talaga, no? Ayaw nakakakita ng mga numbers na yung mga numerical values. But I hope you will be able to learn something from my presentation. Okay? All right, so last week we already discussed the other components of the business plan. So for this morning, I am going to start the presentation of the market study, particularly in the demand and supply analysis, because all major sections of the study are important, although we give each aspect an important considerations, no? But the market study, it is almost receiving the most utmost and preferential attention because it is considered as the lifeblood of a feasibility study, because we are not going to proceed with the other aspect kung wala namang demand para doon sa product. So most likely kapag ka sinabi natin na market, ano, it is not only about the location of the business, but ito yung mga tao na bibili doon sa mga product natin. So when we talk about the market study, it is all about the demand, supply, the price, as well as the strategies that you are going to employ para maibenta yung mga product natin. So in preparation of the study, so bago tayo makapag-proceed doon sa business plan natin, no? So the market should be established first. So as I mentioned, kailangan ma-determine muna natin, meron bang potential para na demand para doon sa products or service na ibebenta ninyo, or kung papasimplihin natin yung tanong, ang question natin dyan ay meron bang bibili or meron tayong mga consumers ng product or service. So it is very important that we are going to emphasize that the primary objective of the market study is to determine whether there is demand or none. Because as I mentioned earlier, kung wala naman palang mga customers, walang bibili ng product, then magsasayang lang tayo ng oras na gawin yung business plan natin kung wala naman din bibili, no? So it is very important that you know the objective of the market studies, because through this aspect, you will be able to determine the size and growth of your total annual demand, no? You can also determine or evaluate the supply situation, because the demand and supply, dito natin i-determine yung gap kung saan papasok yung business ninyo. So, meron ba tayong possibility na maging profitable doon sa area na papasukin natin? So, it is also very important that you will be able to determine the market share of your product or services, because as always mentioned to my students, no, it is a waste of time kung wala namang bibili ng mga products natin. Okay? So, yung mga resources natin, hindi naman siya unlimited, no? So, it is very important na yung mga investment natin, dadalhin natin doon sa pinaka-profitable na mga project or businesses. Okay? So for the learning objectives, so for this presentation, I am going to discuss how a demand study is conducted. Then we are also going to identify the various forecasting tools to describe how to conduct a supply study. Then we are also going to discuss the demand supply analysis. And lastly, I am going to explain the projected sales using the market share and capacity planning approach. So you will be able to have the basis para doon sa financial aspect ninyo. So it is very important na ma-establish natin ilan ba yung magiging projected sales, because you will not be able to get the accurate presentation of your financial statements kung doon pa lang lang sa demand supply or doon sa projected sales, mali na siya. So, I will also provide you the template na pwede ninyong magamit for your business plan para ito yung maging basis nyo din dun sa magiging papers ninyo. Okay? So, bago tayo mag-proceed, ano ba yung tinatawag muna natin na demand? So, just a review doon sa mga naging previous subject ninyo. So, as I always mentioned, yung demand, there are two characteristics na kailangan muna nating masatisfy. The first one is, meron bang willingness to buy yung mga consumer, yung mga buyers natin? And also, meron ba silang capacity to buy? Because kapag ka merong nawawala, na kahit isa dito, hindi tayo makakapag-create ng demand. So, kailangan masatisfy muna natin yung willingness and capacity nila na bilhin yung product before we can say that you establish a demand for your product. So, for example, yung isang product, gusto ko siyang bilhin, kaya lang wala akong pera. Then, there is no demand for that because as I mentioned, it is very important that there is an ability to purchase yung mga customers doon sa product natin. Okay? So, there are two major connotations of demand in a feasibility study. So, ito yung pwede nating maging basis doon sa ipo-project natin na demand because it is very important that before you will be able to gain or project your sales, ma-establish natin that there is enough demand for your product. So, the first one is the past demand or yung historical data natin. Then, the other one is the future demand wherein ito nga yung gagamitan natin ng template or ng computations for you to be able to arrive with the projected demand for your product. So this is the sample computations when we are talking about the past demand. So in this section, so usually it starts with the analysis of the past demand. So of course, kailangan tinitingnan din natin yung nagiging trends, yung nagiging patterns doon sa previous demand doon sa mga ng mga buyers natin for a particular product, although direct or indirect competition yung titingnan natin. So for this one, it is very important that you know ilan ba yung total goods sold or consumed, as well as i-add din natin dito yung mga imported units or yung binibili sa ibang lugar, no? So for you to be able to get the past demand. And also, meron ding mga studies na ina-add din nila yung total consumption doon sa past demand para makuha yung naging total demand. But of course, ito yung sample natin, no. So for example, yung ibinebenta ng business ay egg. So per tray, no. I mean per piece. So, kailangan kukuha tayo ng mga data from the secondary data, from the historical data, no? For you to be able to present ilan yung naging demand ng mga nakaraang taon or yung naging trend in the previous records, no? So, for this sample, so yung data kinuha natin doon sa egg producers, no? And also doon sa egg retailers para makuha natin yung consumption. And also, kinuha din dito yung data ng mga producers na nanggagaling outside the area. So, for this one, if you are going to add this, so it will provide us a total demand of 2.2 million pieces na egg. So, ito yung naging past demand which is nakabase doon sa historical data. Okay? So, kaya lang meron ding mga instances na kumbaga ay nadodoble, nagkakaroon ng duplication doon sa data. So, for example, doon sa Davao, doon sa isang area. So, lahat ng mga na ipoproduce nila, doon din nila ibinebenta sa lugar na yon. So, there will be a duplication of data in the computation of the past demand. So, for some instances, dinidelete natin or nire-remove na natin yung consumption doon sa particular product. So it will provide a lower result because para nga maiwasan natin yung duplication. So para doon sa mga proponent, it is very important na tinitingnan natin ng mabuti with due care and diligence in determining ano ba yung nagko-constitute doon sa mga demand. Hindi dahil ipinrovide doon sa computation na dapat ganito yung tinitingnan natin, i-disregard na natin yung other consideration. So you should always be critical when you are dealing with your projections, okay? So, yung another approach natin is the future demand. So, ito nga yung gagamitan natin ng computation. So, usually, it refers to the projected demand, no, when we talk about the future of the product or local consumption, no, kung saan kasama din dito yung mga considerations natin from the consumer. Okay? So, doon sa industry natin. Okay? So, the major processes in the study of demands involve identifying the consumers, gathering information from the total past demands, evaluating past demand pattern, forecast future demands, and lastly, to evaluate future demand projection. So, i-discuss natin siya one by one. So, yung first step natin is about identifying the consumer. So, dito, kailangan nating sagutin yung dalawang questions na to. First is, who are the consumers? And also, where are the consumers? So, it is very important na before you can proceed with your projection, na establish nyo na kanino ba ako magbebenta? Sino ba talaga yung target market ko? It is very important that you will be able to categorize your prospective buyer or yung mga consumers natin, yung target market natin, before you can arrive with the computation of your projected sales because it will be difficult on your part kung kayo mismo hindi nyo alam sino yung bebentahan ninyo. Hindi naman din natin pwedeng kunin lang yung total population, ano, because every product, bago kayo makapag-proceed, meron tayong kailangan na ita-target because in marketing, it will be difficult on your part kapag ka lahat yon ay tinarget natin. Okay? So, for this one, ang isa sa mga market approach na pwede natin gamitin is yung market segmentation, wherein you are going to categorize each market, no? Pipili tayo doon sa mga nakategorize natin, sino ba yung pinaka-profitable doon, ano? So, kung merong specific marketing activities, you should know kanino ba intended yung mga strategies na gagawin ninyo. Because it will be a waste of time kung halimbawa, tina-target ninyo silang lahat, hindi naman pala applicable para sa kanila yung marketing activities ninyo. Then, hindi din maa-appreciate ng mga consumer. So, for example, dito sa presentation natin, makikita ninyo yung pagkakategorize or yung pagkugrupo-grupo doon sa consumers natin. So, either pwede nating i-focus yung demographics nila, no? Hahatiin natin in terms of gender. So, male, female. So, dito sa sample natin na i-categorize natin. Then, doon sa mga napili natin na possible segment. So, sino yung magiging pinaka-profitable dito? So, it is very important that you are going to assess the profitability of each segment based na din doon sa magiging nature ng mga products na ibebenta ninyo. So this is the common basis for segmentation. The first one is yung geographic location, no? So for example, you are going to sell doon sa San Antonio o kaya sa San Isidro. Then you should know ilan ba yung population doon sa lugar na yon. You can also check yung sa demographic. So for example, merong particular age kayo na bebentahan yung product ninyo pambata lang. Then you can segment them according to the age, no? Para meron kayong basis, yun yung pinaka magiging baseline ninyo ng total population na ilalagay doon sa computation and demand. You can also target the psychographic. So, alamin nyo ano ba yung motive ng mga consumer when they are buying their products. Then, pwede din yung benefit sought. So, ano ba yung mga hinahanap nila na mga benefits? So, it is also very important that you are going to highlight ano ba yung pinaka-use, ano yung pinaka-benefits na makukuha nila para ma-appreciate din ng mga consumer. Then, lastly, you can also segment them using the usage rate. So, gaano ba sila kadalas bumibili ng mga product? Sino ba yung ita-target natin dito? So, these are just some of the basis for the segmentation. And again, as I mentioned, depende doon sa magiging nature ng product ninyo or ng business, paano ninyo isa-segment yung mga customer. So, pwede naman din maging combination ng mga ito. So, it is very important that you are going to consider this when you are creating your questionnaire. Okay? So, ito yung example, no? For example, if you are going to sell fashion goods, so it is recommended na i-target natin sila based on their age. So doon naman sa mga sasakyan, based doon sa income because it can really be a great factor para doon sa magiging demand for each product. Okay? So magpo-provide ako ng example para doon sa mga doon sa survey para makita natin saan ba ginagamit yung market segmentation na to. Nakikita po.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, thank you. Alright, so when you are before you can create your demand and supply analysis, it is very important that you're already conducted your market research or yung survey natin doon sa mga consumers. So you will be able to get the information about their demographic, psychographic, and other factors that may affect their intention to purchase your product. So it can also be the source of information regarding their preferences, no? So for you to be able to design a marketing strategy para doon sa mga consumers, ano yung product na ipoprovide nyo, ano yung mga flavor, kung food man yan, ano yung mga characteristics or yung features ng mga product. So you will include that on the survey. So you will be able to have an idea ano yung gagawin ko na product na magiging suitable doon sa mga needs and wants ng mga consumer. Because as an entrepreneur, we will always design the products based on the needs and wants. So it is very important that you are going to fill a gap. So address a need or problem through your products which can serve as the solution para doon sa mga problems na na-encounter ng mga consumer. So in that way, you will be able to create a value para doon sa mga customers natin. Okay? So this is an example ng questionnaire na pwede ninyong gamitin when you are creating your demand analysis. So for this one, isinegment natin yung mga consumer based on their occupation, age, then kung health conscious ba sila and also if they are eating healthy breakfast. So dito pa lang madedetermine na natin meron bang willingness para doon sa product. Gusto ba nila yung ipo-provide ninyo? And also you will be able to determine meron ba silang capacity to buy para doon sa product because you already asking magkano yung usual na ini-spend nila doon sa mga healthy meals which is ito yung gusto natin na i-produce or ibenta doon sa mga customers. So as I mentioned earlier doon sa first part ng discussion ko, it is very important that before you can create the demand, na-determine mo na merong willingness to buy as well as ability to buy yung mga customers mo. So it is very important that you are going to ask them through your questionnaire about this para masagot nyo na din, ma-determine nyo na din kung merong demand talaga doon sa product. Okay? So, ito yung mga sample natin ng sample questions na pwede ninyong i-include doon sa questionnaire ninyo. Okay? So, you can use the data na magagather for this part doon sa demographic profile nila, and I mean doon sa socio-demographic profile nila para ma-segment natin yung market. Okay? May question po ba? Nakakasunod ba? Okay, so going back, it can also be a source of information yung mga nakukuha natin through secondary data. So as presented dito sa doon sa presentation. So mamaya tingnan pa natin paano natin magagamit itong mga population na yan. Okay, so bago tayo mag-proceed doon sa computation, let's proceed with how are we going to gather information on total demand. So, ito pa yung isang question na kailangan nating i-establish, no? So, first is where can the demand data be gathered? How can the desired data be gathered? And lastly, how large should be the desired data? So, isa ito sa mga parts kung saan maiko-consider natin na pinakamahirap yung pag-gather ng mga information because from here, lalabas tayo, kukuha tayo ng mga information, magtatanong tayo doon sa mga consumers. So, it is very important that you are going to establish saan ba tayo kukuha ng mga information. So, these are the common sources of the information. As I mentioned, yung secondary data, it will be very useful, yung mga historical data natin coming from the manufacturers or retailers, yung mga competitors, no? Mga trade associations or mga cooperatives who are selling the products na related doon sa inyo. Yung mga government agency natin such as BSP, DOF, DTI, NEDA, PSA. So ito very useful yung nanggagaling sa PSA because we can determine the population for a specific location using the website, ano? So laging available siya doon sa internet, but we have to filter the information that we are gathering, no? It is very important that you assess first kung credible ba yung nagiging sources of information natin. Also, you can gather information from other national government offices such as the LGU sa mga barangay, no? Then, from the universities and colleges, kung halimbawa mga students yung target market ninyo. Then, from the local government units, offices, and lastly, you can get the information directly from the existing and prospective users of the product or yung mga potential customers natin. So, ito yung magiging focus natin for the discussion today, paano natin magagamit yung mga information galing sa kanila. Okay? So these are the techniques on how we can gather information directly from the primary sources or from the prospective customers. The first one is you can design your survey questionnaire. No? So kukuha tayo ng mga information through pen and paper, through Google Form. Nasa sa inyo kung alin yung mas madali, depende doon sa nature ng mga consumers ninyo. If they are active online, then you can resort using the Google Form. Pero kung hindi naman, halimbawa, mga hindi ganoon ka-techy yung mga customers yung mga prospective customers ninyo, then it is better na mag-pen and paper kayo. So you should assess again the characteristics of your target market before you can decide anong techniques ang gagamitin ninyo sa pag-gather ng data. And also, you can interview, so lalabas, makikipag-usap, so you can have a deep understanding on the needs and wants of your consumer. Then, another one is through observation. So, lalabas kayo doon sa location kung saan ninyo balak itayo yung business. So, isa sa mga practices sa industry is nag-o-observe, So, tatayo doon sa pinaka potential location or doon sa projected location ng business, then bibilangin natin yung traffic or yung ilang customers ba yung possible na dumaan doon sa or bumili doon sa magiging business ninyo, no? So, you can choose alin sa mga araw, So, ang recommended daw po ay, for example, isa sa Monday, then isa sa Thursday, then yung pinaka-peak day is yung sa weekend or Sunday. So, you can observe using through those days para makuha natin ilan kaya yung magiging average natin. So, isa yun sa mga pwede nating i-consider. Then, lastly is through testing. So, yung mga pa-sample natin, pa-free taste, So, you can also determine ilan yung may gusto doon sa product, ilan yung merong willing bumili ng product natin. So, you can decide, again, depende doon sa nature ng customers ninyo. Okay? So, yung next question natin is gaano po kadami yung customers na kailangan kong i-survey. So, you can compute using the Rausoff calculator, no? Isa sa mga recommended is 100, but if you want to be more specific, pwede kayong mag-resort sa 384. But the minimum na isa-suggest is 100 persons at least, no? So, depende na lang din doon sa mga teachers ninyo, ilan yung survey sa inyo. Okay? So, paki-confirm na lang din po. So, dito sa Rouse of Calculator, kailangan meron na di tayong population size para ma-determine natin. Pero usually kasi kapag ka mga consumers yung tina-target natin, sobrang dami nila, no? Wala tayong specific record kung gaano sila kadami. So, usually ang lumalabas kapag ka, naka 5% yung error natin, around 384. Pero kung ganito na 10%, around 100. So again, depende na din doon sa objective ninyo kung gaano kadami yung magiging sample size ninyo. Okay? So when you are gathering the information, of course, meron pa ding mga limitations. The first one is data may be incomplete and outdated. So there are some instances na hindi available yung mga data. So for example, doon sa PSA, when you are getting the population for a specific barangay, city, or doon sa municipality, hindi pa laging available yung latest data. For example, doon sa PSA, so ang latest natin na available sa internet is 2020. So every 4 years yung release nila or yung pagkakandak nila ng census. So using that, nagpo-project lang tayo depende doon sa nagiging annual growth, no? So it can be considered as outdated or incomplete. But again, meron pa din naman tayong mga data na pwedeng gamitin para makapag-project. Although hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na accurate ngayon because that is merely a projection. Another is businesses are hesitant to provide the necessary data, especially kung alam nila na magtatayo kayo ng business katulad nung nature ng business nila or katulad ng products nila. Syempre, ang tingin na nila no, kakompetensya. So, sino ba naman yung mga businesses na gustong pumasok yung maraming competitors kasi makakabawas yun doon sa sales nila. Also, the quality of data from interview and questionnaires are sometimes questionable, especially kung nagmamadali yung mga sinurvey ninyo. So, yung iba hindi na nila binabasa, check na lang sila, hindi nagiging accurate yung information na nakukuha natin. So, it is very recommended para doon sa mga students natin that you are going to design your questionnaire doon sa in understandable and easier manner, no? So, iwasan natin na maglagay or mag-provide ng questionnaire na inabot na ng 10 pages kasi ang tendency niyan, tatamarin na yung mga prospective consumer ninyo or yung mga respondents ninyo. So, lahat lang ng mga relevant information or questions ang ilalagay ninyo doon sa questionnaire ninyo. At dapat naiintindihan nila ano yung mga tanong, ano. So, iwasan natin na gumamit ng mga technical or mga jargon words, no. Then also data gathering is a costly endeavor kasi nga lumalabas tayo, no? So it will be an investment of your time, effort, as well as financial resources, especially if you are going to conduct your survey using pen and paper. And as I mentioned, data gathering is also time consuming. So medyo matagal, especially kung mahirap hanapin yung mga respondents. So these are some of the limitations or drawbacks in gathering information. Yung next natin is about evaluating past demand patterns. So, for this one, yung mga proponent natin, so you are also going to be concerned using this factor. The first one is the pattern of demand, no? So, i-assess natin kung suitable ba siya or naka-align doon sa mga naging historical data natin yung makukuha ninyo na projected demand. Also, you have to consider the government programs influencing the demand. So there are some instances na yung mga product natin baka ipino-provide din ng libre ng mga government. So it can greatly affect the demand for your product. Then fiscal and monetary policy of the national government, especially yung inflation. So kapag ka tumataas yung mga bilihin, definitely maiiba din yung pattern or yung spending habit ng mga consumer, especially kung yung product ninyo are considered as non-essential goods. So of course, magtitipid sila, no? Ilalaan nila yung mga yung pera nila doon sa basic necessities. So when we talk about the inflation, so it can affect the purchasing power or yung ability to pay ng mga consumers para doon sa goods or services na ino-offer. Then lastly is trends in the world market. So yung globalization, it greatly affect the demand for the specific product, especially nowadays na very techy na din yung mga consumer. We are buying from the different parts of the world, no? So it can be considered as the factors na kailangan i-consider ng mga proponent when you are determining the future demand. Okay? Question po. May tanong. So, punta tayo doon sa medyo madugong part, no? Okay, so i-present ko sa inyo yung template na pwede ninyong gamitan when you are forecasting the future demand. Okay, so this is an example ng demand supply analysis natin. So first, we have to start with determining the projected demand for your product. So dito sa illustration natin, ang proposed business is to provide healthy meals for the consumers. So first is we have to determine first sino ba yung target market natin. So you can get the information from the PSA regarding the total population, then as well as the household. So for this one, sino ba yung pinaka-target market? Per individual ba, per tao ba, or per bahay, per household? So for example, ang ibebenta nyo ay asukal. So definitely hindi naman bibili isa-isa yung mga member ng isang family, no. So usually isahan lang yung pagbili nila. Isa lang tao lang yung bumibili per household ng asukal. Then if that's the case, so you should get the population of the household. But for our sample, ang ipino-provide nga natin na product ay healthy meal. So dito per tao ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. So for our sample, it is recommended to use or to get the total population doon sa target location natin. So, ano yung pwede nating maging source? Wait lang po. Baka may question po, no? Pwedeng magtanong habang nagpe-present tayo ng sample. Okay? Kita na ba yung sa Google Chrome? Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, ang pinaka kukunin natin is yung total population. So you can visit the website of PSA since meron namang available dito, no? 2024 na pala available, sorry. So, ayan. So, for this one, ito yung census nung 2020, no? So, meron tayong 83,060. So, kailangan ma-determine muna natin dito, sino ba or ano ba yung scope ng magiging business ninyo? Ano-anong mga barangay. So, kung buong San Antonio, then you can use this information. But for example, meron lang kayong mga pipiliin na barangay. So, selected barangay lang din yung magiging scope nung business ninyo. Then, kukunin nyo lang yung total population for this one, no? So, kung halimbawa, ang kukunin nyo lang ay Buliran, Kamahuan, Hulo, Lawang Kupang, then ito lang yung kailangan ninyong itotal. Hindi ninyo kailangan na kunin yung total population ng kabuuang San Antonio. And as I mentioned earlier, it is very important that you are going to establish your target first, no? Bago kayo kumuha ng mga information or ng mga data for this one. Okay? So, ayan. Then, paano naman po makukuha yung growth rate? So, usually available din siya doon sa internet, no? So, meron tayong mga sources when you search about the annual population growth rate. So, it is also recommended to include this para makita natin yung magiging trend, no? So, for this sample, ang nakalagay is 1.38 yung magiging growth rate natin. So, going back doon sa Excel, ayan, no? So, na-include na natin or nakuha na natin yung total population from PSA. So, you can use this secondary data as your basis para doon sa magiging assumption natin. Then, also, i-include din natin yung average growth rate because yung pinaka latest data natin from the internet is the census from the 2020. So, anong taon na ngayon, no? 2025 na yung kailangan natin. Then, you can multiply this one para doon, para makuha natin yung pag-increase ng growth rate. So, this part, ito yung pinaka-base natin or yung available data from the internet. Then, yung increase naman coming from the when you multiply the base or yung population multiply by the growth rate. So, for this one, nagkakaroon tayo ng increase for each year, which is ito yung maiko-consider natin as the population or yung baseline para doon sa magiging projected demand ninyo. Since nasa 2025 na tayo, hindi na tayo mag-uumpisa dito ng data, no? So, ang gagamitin na natin na information is the latest or yung projected population natin, which is itong 90,179 na. Okay? So, next is magpo-proceed na tayo kapag na-establish na natin yung pinaka-population doon sa pagpo-project natin ng demand. So, for this one, meron na tayong information for the next 5 years. So, pakitanong na lang din po doon sa mga subject teacher natin kung ilang taon yung magiging projection ninyo. Pero ang pinaka-importante kasi dito talaga is yung first year ng operation natin. Then, yung mga succeeding naka-formula naman na din tayo doon sa template. So, ito yung pinaka-importante na ma-establish natin ilan yung population. Okay? So, once you determine the projected population, magpo-proceed na tayo doon sa target market. So, dito sa assumption natin, nakabase siya doon sa naging result ng survey. So, that's why it is very important that before you proceed with this template, meron na kayong data na tally nyo na-determine nyo na ilang percentage ng mga individual na yon yung ita-target ninyo. So, for our sample, ang ginamit natin na pinaka-point of assumption is yung mga working individuals with the capacity to purchase para masatisfy natin yung ability to buy the product. And also, we are considering the age of the individual. Then, i-consider din natin kung health conscious ba sila. Okay? Yung next natin is, i-consider din yung mga individual who are enjoying to eat healthy breakfast because not everyone naman ay nagbe-breakfast, no? Then, another is, i-consider din yung kaya nilang bilhin, magkano yung ini-spend nila para doon sa mga healthy breakfast meal na available doon sa market. So, in this one, maiko-consider na natin yung price din. So, nung product na i-offer ninyo. Then, lastly, is it is also very important that you are going to ask the consumer if they are open to try yung plano ninyong ibenta na product sa kanila. So, in this way, makikita na natin yung ability to buy, ano? So, ayan, dito sa part na yan, and this one, as well as the willingness to buy ng mga customers para doon sa product na i-offer ninyo. So, using this percentage, na i-compute na natin dito, ilan yung magiging possible na target market ninyo. So, dito sa sample natin, kumbaga ay nag-umpisa tayo doon sa pinaka-base natin na 90,000. Pero hindi naman lahat ng population na yan ay working individual. Okay? So, base doon sa survey natin, 69% lang yung merong kakayahan na bumili ng product natin because ikino-consider nga natin kanino tayo makakapag-create ng demand para dito. Okay? So, ayan. So, yung total natin na merong capacity to purchase your product is only 69%. So, for this sample, yung 90,179 or yung pinaka-baseline ng population natin, i-multiply natin doon sa 69% na lumabas or nanggaling dito sa survey questionnaire. Okay? So, in terms of the occupation. Then next is yung lahat ng mga lumabas na individuals who have the capacity to buy or yung mga working individuals, they are considered as the professional, no? Meron din tayong tina-target na age because yung pinaka-target market nitong product natin ay considered as young professional. So dito sa survey natin, ang kinuha lang natin ay yung dalawang age group, which is yung 18 to 34 years old. So nag-account sila ng 86.20% ng population, which is yun din yung kinuha natin. So mula doon sa nakuha natin kanina na 90,000, bumaba siya to 62,233. Then, bumaba ulit yon ng 53,644. So, ganun lang din yung gagawin natin doon sa mga succeeding questions which are considered as relevant doon sa nature ng product or service na i-offer ninyo. So, again, hindi lahat ng nasa population na nakuha ninyo from the internet ay i-consider ninyo as projected consumer ng product na i-offer ninyo because you have to target sino doon sa mga market na yon yung merong possibility or potential to buy your product. Okay? So, dito sa part na to, hindi siya paramihan, hindi pataasan ng demand dito. Ang mahalaga lang is ma-account natin that there is enough demand para doon sa business or doon sa product na i-offer ninyo. Okay? So, yung target market nanggaling doon sa questionnaire. So, it is very important na meron kayong basis doon sa magiging assumption ninyo. Okay? So, yung next natin is the average frequency of purchase. So, paano naman siya? So, this one, naka-formula din siya, no? So, it is very important that you are going to include this part doon sa questionnaire ninyo. Kasi kung makakalimutan ninyo, medyo malaking problema yon, no? Kasi hindi, mawawalan kayo ng basis. So, pwede kayong magtanong dito kung gaano sila kadalas bumili nung product. So, considering the direct and indirect competition doon sa para doon sa business. Okay? So, for this one, paano yung gagawin natin? So, since isinama nga din ito doon sa questionnaire, ayan no. So, nakakuha tayo ng mga percentage. So, ang kailangan lang nating i-consider, ilagay natin dito sa number of respondents yung percentage for each result. Then, dito sa weight, paano po siya kukunin? So, this one, yung weight niya, titingnan lang natin sino yung pinakamababa, siya yung irarank ninyo as 1. Then, yung next is yung 2. Then, yung 3 yung pinakamataas. Kung halimbawa, mas marami kayong nilagay na option. Halimbawa, meron pa kayong nakalagay dyan na daily, o kaya weekly. Then, magdadagdag tayo ng weight dito. So, kung naging 5 yung option ninyo, then, ang magiging weight ninyo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, yun yung ito-total ninyo dito sa part na to. So, maiiba siya depende doon sa number of choices na ilalagay ninyo. So, yung next step natin is you have to determine yung frequency of purchase natin per annum. So, of course, so for this one, pagka sinabi natin na monthly, meron sa isang taon, 12 times lang silang bumibili. So, kapag naman per week, no, once a week sila bumibili, so that is equivalent to 52 purchases per annum. Kung twice a month naman, then 24 times a year. Then, i-multiply lang natin yung dalawa, yung weight, multiply by the frequency of purchase per annum para makuha natin itong part na to. So, this one, yung 136, yun yung i-divide natin doon sa naging total of weight, which will equivalent to 23 purchases per annum. Okay? Baka po may question? So again, this one comes from your questionnaire. So after that, you will be able to have the data para dito sa average frequency of purchases. So in average, lahat pala ng mga customers na ito, nag-a-account sila ng 23 purchases per year, no? Considering yung mga frequency for each choices. Then, you can also ask them gaano kadami yung binibili nila per purchase. So, suppose or yung ang assumption natin dito ay kada bumibili sila, isa lang yung binibili nila na healthy meal. So, you are going to include that on this part, no? So, reminder lang po, no? It is very important that you are going to establish ano yung unit of measurement na gagamitin ninyo. Per piece ba siya? Per pack? Per box? Because kung ano yung gagamitin ninyo na unit of measurement dito sa projected demand, yun din yung gagamitin ninyo doon sa supply para mag-match sila, hindi tayo magkaroon ng inaccurate computation regarding your analysis. Okay? So, after that, imumultiply lang natin yung tatlo, yung target market, yung average frequency of purchases nila, then number of cups na binibili nila or kung anong units man yung gagamitin ninyo para makuha natin yung projected demand for your specific product. Okay? So, ito yung lalabas doon sa computation. May question po? Parang wala naman. Okay, so there are some instances na negative yung growth rate doon na lumalabas doon sa population. Kumbaga ay kumukonte yung tao depende doon sa population, no? So ano po yung pwede namin gawin kapag nag-negative yung growth rate? So, ang suggestion ko po is tanggalin nyo yon doon sa scope ninyo because technically, sino ba naman yung gusto na yung demand ay pababa, ano? So, you can check another location, yung mas strategic para hindi maging, kumbaga ay magkaroon kayo ng mas accurate na demand and supply analysis. Okay? So, ito yung isang sample kung saan ang pinaka-target natin is individual. Okay? So, for example naman, ang target ninyo is business market or yung, halimbawa, mga cafe, mga tindahan. Then, you can ask the information from the local government unit, no? Kuha kayo ng mga information regarding doon sa number of business market. Kung students naman, then you can get the record from the registrar's office. So, again, yung kukuhanan ninyo ng data depende doon sa nature ng consumer na ipo-project ninyo. Okay? So, dito pala sa part na to, no? Sa frequency of purchase as well as doon sa number of cups per purchase. So, again, paki-check po kung reasonable ba itong mga frequency of purchase. So, you have to critically think, evaluate yung naging result ng survey. Para hindi kayo mag-over doon sa projection ninyo. Wait lang po. Okay, so after forecasting the future demand, then let's now proceed with the study of supply. So, dito naman, so you have to consider the direct and indirect competitors. Ma'am, paano po kung ako pa lang yung magtatayo nung business or ako pa lang yung may ganitong klase ng product, pwede bang i-zero ko na yung supply doon sa product? So, it is not recommended na wala kayong ilalagay. So, you have to consider the indirect competitors because technically, nagiging consider pa din siya as factors na nakakaapekto doon sa demand for the product na ipopropose ninyo. Okay? So, palagi tayong mag-include ng mga indirect competitors or direct competitors. So, you have to assess the present situation ng competition doon sa market where you are going to intend to sell your product. So, the question when you are studying the supply, so are there existing suppliers of the proposed product or service? So, yan nga. I-assess natin ano yung mga available na products na posibleng maka-influence doon sa buying behavior of the consumers. So this is the major process in the study of demand. The first one is you have to conduct a thorough study about the competitors. You have to gather information on historical supply, evaluate the supply growth patterns, forecast future supply. Then lastly is you have to evaluate the result of future forecast. So again, you have to be critically thinking about the result of your study. So, these are the questions na pwede ninyong i-consider when you are conducting a study about your competitors, no? Because they are considered as the supplier of the products na available doon sa market. The first one is, who are the competitors? So, dapat alam natin sino-sino ba yung mga nagbebenta ng mga same or mga in the, yung mga almost the same na product na ipo-propose ninyo. Another is where are the competitors? So saan ba sila located? At kasama ba sila doon sa scope ninyo? No? So, another is are they direct or indirect competitors? So most likely mas malaki ang influence ng mga direct competitors. When we talk about the direct competitors, so sila yung may mga same na product, same din yung market. Kapag ka naman indirect competitor, although iba sila ng mga product na ibinebenta, pero same kayo ng tina-target na market. So you have to determine both the direct and indirect competitors when you are studying this aspect of your marketing plan. Then next one is how long have they been in the business? So definitely kapag matagal na sila doon sa industry, nakapag-develop na din sila ng customer loyalty. So it can also affect the demand for your product. Then, are they publicly listed companies or close corporation? Baka malalaking mga company pala yan, mga kilala na talaga yung mga brand nila, no? So, sino din ba yung mga shareholders of the competitors? Another is where do they channel their products? Paano nila binebenta yung products nila papunta doon sa mga consumers? Gaano ka-convenient sa kanila? Because it can also affect your marketing strategy. Another is do they produce primary or substitute products? So, yan nga, ano ba yung pinaka-nature ng product nila? Meron pa ba silang mga ibang mga products na available doon sa store nila other than the ones na ipopropose mo din? Then lastly is what marketing strategy do they apply? Because it can also be the basis of your plan or your marketing aspect. Okay. So this is how you are going to gather information on historical supply. So you have to assess gaano kadami yung naipoproduce doon sa area and also kung nag-i-import ba sila doon sa ibang lugar. So the combination of these two aspects are considered as the total annual supply available doon sa projected location ng business. So these are the sources of information. So you can get the list of the competitors or the listed businesses in your area doon sa DTI, doon sa LGU, Bureau of Custom, BSP, NEDA, OI, PSA, and lastly, you can also get from the internet or yung EFOI. So ito nagiging useful talaga siya because you can just request yung mga information na kailangan mo through online. So, ito po siya. Mhm. Yeah, this one. So, ito yung EFOI. So, you can just write your request, then wait na lang din kayo doon sa ipo-provide nila. So, most likely, meron ditong mga available na information para doon sa secondary data na kailangan ninyo. Okay? So, it can be very useful on your part. Okay, so yung next naman natin is about the evaluation of the past demand pattern, no? So, these are the questions na pwede ninyong i-consider. So, is the supply pattern increasing or decreasing, no? Because it can also affect the gap between the demand and supply, which can also affect your market share. Another is, does the percentage of increase remain constant? Because for this one, makikita natin yung nagiging trend, no? Then, are there government projects that significantly influence the supply growth pattern? So, ito na nga yung binanggit ko kanina na baka mamaya merong mga government program na nagpo-provide na din ng libre doon sa mga tao ano, as part of their project. Then, are there new uses for the product? So, paano ba magiging useful yan doon sa mga consumers? Then, lastly, are there moves from the private sector that will significantly influence the supply, especially kung very attractive yung industry, then definitely there will be interest from the private sector. So they can be considered as your future competitors. Okay? So yung next part natin is you have to forecast the future supply, no? So, dito, you only have to consider yung mga products na related din doon sa product ninyo. So, for example, ang ibebenta ninyo ay pizza. So, may mga stores kasi na bukod sa pizza, meron pa silang mga other products, no? Then, ang itatanong nyo lang na benta ng mga consumer is yung related lang doon sa product ninyo. So, this is the template naman for the projection of the supply. So, this one. So, for example, nakapag-determine kayo ng 5 competitors na nag-o-offer ng similar product. So, they are considered as direct and indirect competitor. Then, for this one, you only have to ask them, ilan yung mga nagiging average number of sales nila per annum. But for example, ang ibinigay lang nila sa inyo ay per day. So suppose na ang binanggit nila meron silang benta na 30 cups per day. Then kayo na yung bahala na mag-multiply nun kung ilang araw yung nagiging operations nila. So suppose na 6 days a week sila 6 days per week sila nag-ooperate. Then you have to multiply that in the number of days. So per annum, meron silang benta na 7,740. So this one, you also have to observe no kung tama yung mga information na ibinibigay nila. So the interview should also be coupled by observation. Okay, so yan. So you have to determine the available supply or yung mga products na nabebenta from your competitors in that particular area. Then also based on the interview, tanungin nyo din sila regarding doon sa mga historical data, no? You can ask them also regarding doon sa number of sales nila from the previous years para ma-determine ninyo kung merong increase o decrease doon sa trend or pattern ng supply or doon sa para doon sa product. Then you have to project yung total number of supply based doon sa total numbers na ibebenta ng lahat ng competitors. So for this one, it is very important na dito hindi siya individual per total ang ipo-project natin dito. Okay? So again, this one will be coming from your interview. Okay, so yung third section natin is the demand and supply analysis. So for this one, meron na tayong projected demand which come from this template, no? So ayan, then yung projected supply naman comes from this sheet. So meron na tayong information na pwede nating magamit para ma-assess natin kung meron bang gap doon sa para doon sa product, because kung wala siya, no, kung naka-negative siya, mas marami pa yung supply, then technically it will not be attractive industry to join, no. So dito kukunin lang din natin yung year 1 to year 5 coming from the Google Sheet. I mean, dito sa mga sheet na na-compute natin. Then, you only have to get the difference between the demand and supply para makuha natin yung gap. Then, i-multiply lang natin siya para makuha natin gaano kadami or yung percentage ng mga unserved or yung mga hindi pa nakikater na mga consumers base doon sa gap na nakuha natin. So, for this one, lumabas na yung 88% ng total demand ay hindi pa nakikater ng mga supplier or ng mga existing competitors para doon sa area. So, ang question is, pwede ba tayong pumasok? Is it attractive? The answer is technically yes, no? Because sobrang laki pa nung unserved population para doon sa product. So there is an opportunity for you to enter doon sa industry. Okay? So after ma-determine natin na meron pang unserved or meron pang gap doon sa industry, then you have to get the market share. So for this one, it is very important na in determining your sales projection, dapat maging realistic tayo. As I mentioned earlier, hindi siya paramihan, ano? So, dito sa sample natin, ang isa-serve lang natin na projection is 2,000 lang per year. Ma'am, bakit hindi natin targetin yung 493,000 na yan? Sobrang dami, ano, para mas malaki yung magiging profit natin. So, definitely, hindi siya po pwede kasi meron pang mga other competitors na papasok doon sa industry. Also, you have to consider your resources. So, for this one, when you are projecting yung sales mo, it is very important that you are considering the capacity ng business. You have to consider the manpower, yung mga machines na gagamitin ninyo, yung mga gamit, yung mga resources ninyo, because it will be unrealistic on your part kapag tinarget ninyo lahat ng unserved na ito para pataasin yung income. So definitely hindi ito palakihan ng mga nagiging sales projection. Mas magiging unrealistic pa nga siya, mas magiging questionable pa para doon sa mga panel kapag sobrang laki yung inilagay ninyo na sales projection. So it is very important that you are just going to be conservative in projecting your sales. Okay? So dito sa part na to nakasama na yung 2,000 na isa-serve ninyo because you are already considered as part of the competition or part of the supplier. So ito manggagaling siya doon sa supply, ano, yung 66,000 plus yung 2,000 na manggagaling or yung i-cater ninyo. So definitely you will have the 3% of the market share. So dito sa 88.08% na yan, 3% lang yung kukunin ninyo na market share, which is very conservative na siya considering yung number of supplies na ikinikater ng mga consumer, ng mga supplier. So for this one, so ano yung pwede nating i-consider? So make sure lang din na hindi kayo masyadong tataas doon sa mga competitors ninyo, considering na bago pa lang yung product. So i-introduce nyo pa lang, do not expect na mas marami pa yung makikater ninyo from your competitors because definitely they already established bago pa kayo pumasok doon sa competition. Okay? So, also dito sa increase ninyo, so this will be an assumption based din doon sa interviews. Baka may question po. Okay, so this is the capacity planning approach. So as I mentioned earlier, i-determine ninyo yung magiging market share ninyo, yung magiging projected sales ninyo doon sa capacity or production capacity ng business. So for this one, you already have the forecasted demand, no? So alam natin na merong mga unserved population, which is yun yung magiging opportunity ninyo para magtayo ng business. Then next is determine the required capacity. So gaano ba kadami or gaano ba yung mga resources na kailangan ninyo sa pagpo-produce ng isang product ninyo. So for example, yung product ninyo is refrigerated cake. So considering yung refrigerator na available doon sa business, gaano kadami yung pwede kong maging yung pwede kong i-store doon, yung pwede kong ilagay per day, ano? Because nakadepende din doon kung gaano kadami lang yung pwede mong i-produce. Also, you have to consider the number of people or yung manpower na gagawa doon sa business. So, kaya ba? Meron ba kayong enough manpower para gawin yung mga products based doon sa ipino-project ninyo na sales? So, you have to determine, you have to consider the number of employees na available doon sa business. So, kumbaga dito sa capacity planning, you have to check the technical aspect, the management aspect, ano, para ma-determine ninyo gaano lang kadami yung number of units na pwede kong i-produce for a certain period of time. Then, next is you have to measure the gap. So, yung naging projection ninyo doon sa demand versus doon sa capacity or production capacity ng isang business. So, hindi lahat nung demand na mapo-forecast ninyo ay kayang i-cater ng business because again, hindi unlimited yung resources na meron tayo. So kung gusto ninyong magtaas ng capacity, then yung mga other resources kailangan nyo ding dagdagan, which is again, you have to consider the cost and benefit nung pagpo-produce ng mga additional units in every aspect. Okay? So these are the tips for the students, no? First one is you have to always have basis for your assumption. So wag tayo manghuhula. Hindi dahil ganitong percentage yung ipinroject nung ibang grupo, yun na din yung gagayahin ninyo. Dahil magkakaiba yan, depende sa nature ng business, nature ng product ninyo, depende din doon sa situation ng industry. Another is unit of measure for demand and supply computation should be the same. So again, kung per piece yung inilagay ninyo na projected demand, dapat yung sa supply, per piece din yung ilalagay ninyo. So dapat nagmamatch sila. Then your sales projection should not be higher than your highest competitor. So ito na yung na-mention ko kanina na maging conservative kayo, no? Then your sales projection should not be higher than your from your gap or yung nakuha ninyo na demand supply gap because if that's the case so mas marami pa yung demand na available. I mean wala nang demand, nagpo-produce pa din kayo, then it will be a waste of resources. Then lastly is be conservative on your projection. So sa lahat yan, not only in the demand and supply but also doon sa magiging financial aspect ninyo. So lagi lang kayong maging conservative. So again, hindi siya pataasan ng magiging net income. Mas mahalaga na maging realistic yung mga assumption ninyo when you are creating your business plan. Okay? So, yun lang po. Thank you.